everyone, welcome back. Wanted to do a quick video on XP for the early game, the mid game, and the late game. Got a few players on my server. We attract a lot of noobs, or new jacks as I like to call them. And they sometimes either have questions about XP or I notice they're putting it in the wrong place. So for the early game, I like to stay, this is PvE geared as well. For PvE, the big difference is you're going to need a lot of speed and a lot of torpor. Generally the tactic there is bola and knock you out. So the torpor and speed can be a big help in dodging those trank darts. So moving along, for a PvE build in the early game, as you might have seen from some of my playthrough videos or my fresh start videos, I like to stick with health, stamina, a bit of weight, and heavy on the movement speed in the beginning. The reason being is on my first trike tame, I need to be able to move quickly. The trike sometimes charges. There's a slow reload time when you're reloading a crossbow or a bow. And as well, if you've watched my Rex video, you'll see that I tame a Rex with no gear, hardly, like crap, primitive, low rank, and no trap. And one of the reasons I was able to do that is simply speed. So in the first 20-30 levels, I'm basically going to do it like this: a little health, a little stamina, movement speed, and weight. And I'll kind of distribute that evenly with a heavy emphasis on speed. I'm not going to be putting much into torpor. Melee damage, I'm not going to need. I don't find you ever need melee damage. It won't be long before you're not using the melee weapons. And for those people that are like, well, it helps you harvest more materials, it's usually not very long before you're taming your harvesting dinos. Crafting speed is mainly useful, or crafting skill, when you get an amazing blueprint and you boost your crafting skill to the max, like all your points into it. And then from there, when you craft something off the blueprint, it can get some exceptionally good qualities. Those qualities generally, depending on the server you're on, evaporate at server restart. So not really ideal in any cases, with those few exceptions. And in that case, you're going to want to take a mind wipe and do that late game anyways. So weight in the early game, or first 40, I'll put just around there. Movement speed right around here. And that's about it for my first 40. So it's 200 health, 190 stamina. Sorry, my mouse conked out there. 210 weight and movement speed at 119. I'm not going to go past 121 myself at all. So as I continue, I'll just get that to where I want it. Some people like to have a lot more movement speed than this. XP points are what you would call a lost opportunity cost. So if I invest in one thing, I'm missing out on another. And that being said, if you have dumped tons into movement speed, you're losing out on other important things. By level 40, which is roughly where I am now, give or take, I need to start thinking about fortitude. Fortitude's important for temperature management. It makes you a little more resilient to the highs and lows of temperatures. As well, it reduces how quickly you're getting knocked out. And it's not a terrible idea to put a few points into that even before this time. I generally aren't hitting up caves or the swamp too much in the early game anyways. And even with official settings at 2 times what they were, or 2 times on weekends, the ability to fly around with a Patero and get the dossiers and such to raise your XP levels, you're moving up pretty fast in this game if you do it right. So, you know, we can wait a little bit for fortitude. In the early game, we're going to be doing a lot of building, a lot of running away, and carrying a bit of weight. So the health, stamina, weight, and movement speed were my keys. At this point, though, I would start investing in fortitude a little bit. I'll boost that health a little more. I'm going to start needing some more weight simply for the matter of carrying around more weapons. Bolas, trank darts, long neck, you know, rifle, and so on and so forth. I sometimes might be carrying 2 crossbows with me and a lot of gear. So usually I cap my weight out around 300. That's a little high, but I like to go do caves later in the game and carry a lot of weapons with me. As well, just in general, if you're doing a supply drop run and you catch a couple good saddles, you know, depending what bird you're on, like a pterodon, you're going to want a little bit more weight to carry things. I don't like always unloading into my pterodon, but weight's something you can really be flexible with. and go with a personal choice. If you're always riding dynos, you've always got stuff to put your gear in, it's very easy to press the F button and transfer weight into the dyno, then it's something you can go light with. I am a big fan of the mind wipe, so I tend to use that. Let's say I know I'm going to be building for a day or two, or a session or two, then I'll take a mind wipe and put all my points into weight and get myself at 110 speed, and that makes building a lot easier. When I'm ready to get back into regular play, I'll go ahead and take another mind wipe, and I'll be setting up myself up more for a variety or a battle type build. That being said, in most servers, especially if you're on console or playing in official servers, you can only take one mind wipe per level. So be very careful. In my case, when I was on officials, or when I didn't have what we call unlimited respecs, which allows me to take mind wipes as much as I want, in my case I always took a mind wipe right before I leveled up. So I would take it just before I hit, and then as soon as I leveled up, of course, I could take another mind wipe. So please keep that in mind, it's important. So now we're in the mid game approaching the late game. I'm going to want to have some more health. I'm definitely going to take a little more stamina. It's good for a lot of things. I need to get this torpor up. Like I said, I'm done with the speed. Many people might disagree. They want more speed, especially in the PvP server. That speed's a lifesaver. It allows you to wiggle around, move fast, dodge bullets essentially. So that's something you may want to hit up to 130. Stamina I'm going to cap at 300. That's more than enough for me. Health I'm going to cap at 400. That's more than enough for me. And that's pretty high. Okay, so now we're really into the late game. Fortitude, my minimum is generally 26. Okay, 30 is good too. I've gotten by just fine with 26. Fortitude in the swamps and the caves is where you really need it. But even if you're a little low, stim berries and stim juice, I don't go in the swamp or a cave without it. That's where you find those knockout dinos, and all the torpor in the world, yay, but the stim juice and stim berries help a lot. And you know, med brew for health. This is just generally a balanced build. I like to have a little more weight than that. I usually, like I said, cap out at 300 in the late game. So now I'm level 103 in this case. I believe it looks like I'm even higher than that. So now I've got 6 points available. This is extreme late game now. You know, you rank up quite slowly between 80 and 100, even after 70 depending on the server settings. But at this build right now, 400, 300, 300 weight, 26 fortitude, and 121 movement speed. For me personally, I don't really need the other 6 points. Obviously I'm going to take them. Some things you'll notice I never invested in ever. Food and water. You know, when you're wearing the right clothing and you're not burning energy, you don't consume as much food and water. As you get better food, it's pretty easy to maintain food. You've got water jars you can carry with you, or better yet, the canteen. There's your water. So I know it's frustrating sometimes in the early game when you're chopping wood a lot and burning through stamina and food and water, but it's not worth investing in because later on in the game you won't need it. And the same thing applies to melee damage. Yes, you may get a little bit more bits of wood and thatch in the early game, but unless you've got a stack of mind wipes which take quite a few ingredients to build, you're not going to want to have extra melee. You know, you're not meleeing much in the later game. You might use your sword once in a while when you're in a jam in a cave. I find the sword one of the best ways to deal with a bunch of raptors running at you. You know, you can just run backwards and swing that sword. But in general, melee is not something you need much of. I'm using ranged weapons for most of the late game. I like a sniper shotgun combo. And this is a dinosaur taming game, so most of the time, I like guns, so I play without dinos a lot, but in most cases, you're on a dinosaur. And its melee damage matters, not yours. So with these 6 last points, I would literally just go with a little more torpor. Might as well have a touch of speed. I'll take 1 hit and weight and put the rest in stamina. That's it. So that's my basic build, guys. It's the one I use throughout. I've been using it since probably my 400th hour. I'm now passing 4,000. Obviously, these are opinions. This is the build that suits me. But if you're not sure where to put your XP points in the early game, like I mentioned, you're dumping quite a bit into speed right off the bat, health, stamina, and a hint of weight. Mid-game, you saw what I did, and this is my late-game build. As I've added a lot of health, you can see it's taking time to get back up. It's also going to use up all my food, so soon I'll just start to die. So that's it. That's what I do. Use your mind wipes effectively as well. That's an important note that I made. Outside of that, I hope this video was helpful, and I really hope you have all a good day on the Ark, and have yourselves a great one. Take care, everybody.